Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a conflict that's happening right now, all around us. A war that is almost entirely invisible. I mean, think about that for a second. We're so used to thinking of war as, well, something you see, with clear battlefields and front lines. But what if I told you the entire landscape of conflict has completely changed? Because these days, the new battlefields are digital. The soldiers are hackers, and their weapons aren't bombs. They're these incredibly elegant and sometimes terrifyingly malicious lines of code that can just leap across oceans in a heartbeat to spy, to disrupt, and even to destroy. So let's dive into one of these battles. We're going to look at a specific case study that is really a perfect snapshot of what modern cyber warfare looks like. So what are we talking about? We're looking at a major operation from 2023, where the United States Cyber Command went head-to-head with Iranian infrastructure. Now, this wasn't just some random attack. Nope. This was a really calculated move in a conflict that has been simmering for years, completely in the digital shadows. And here's the thing you have to understand. This is absolutely the crucial point. Unlike a physical war, which might have, periods of peace or ceasefires, cyber warfare is always on. It's a constant, 24/7 struggle that most of us never even know is happening. All right, to really get what happened here, you have to understand the players and their playbooks. Because on one side, you've got the United States, and on the other, a whole network of really sophisticated Iranian hacking groups. And what's so fascinating is how different their core philosophies are. The US uses a strategy called persistent engagement. Think of it like playing defense on your opponent's side of the field. You're constantly out there in their networks, poking and prodding to disrupt threats before they can even get close to you. Meanwhile, Iran's groups, we call them advanced persistent threats or APTs, they play a totally different game. Theirs is all about long-term infiltration, disruption, and espionage. They're trying to hit critical infrastructure to project power and, of course, steal valuable intel. And let's be clear, these aren't just a couple of guys in a basement. We're talking about highly organized, often state-sponsored groups. You've got APT-35, which has the nickname Charming Kitten, and APT-33, also called Elfin. Their toolkit is pretty extensive. Everything from super-targeted spear phishing emails to crippling ransomware attacks. And their goal? To cause chaos by hitting everything from government agencies and defense contractors to our power grids and banks. Okay, now this is where things get wild. It sounds like something straight out of a spy movie. How in the world do you coordinate these huge, complex attacks without getting caught? Well, the methods are just unbelievably creative. This is just brilliant in a scary kind of way. Instead of using servers that could be traced back to them, these groups used public platforms that we all use every day. Get this, they'd set up YouTube channels where the actual name of the channel was a coded message for other operatives. And for real-time coordination, they would allegedly use the chat functions inside online video games. It's an entire system designed to just hide in plain sight. Of course, it wasn't all just clever spycraft. They also brought out the big guns. We're talking about heavy-hitting cyber weapons like sophisticated network exploitation and these things called zero-day exploits. A zero-day is basically a secret backdoor in a piece of software that even the people who made it don't know about, and that makes it an incredibly powerful weapon. So all of these attacks are happening in the dark, but what's the fallout in the real world? And maybe the most important question, how do you even know for sure who's behind them? This gets us to one of the single biggest challenges in all of cyber warfare. And that challenge is called attribution. It's basically the digital whodunit. In cyberspace, it is notoriously difficult to prove with 100% certainty who launched an attack. Attackers can bounce their signals through a dozen different countries, use decoy servers. It's a mess. Often, the best we get is a high-confidence assessment from the intelligence community saying, yeah, we're pretty sure it was them. But even with that fog of attribution, the impact of this U.S. operation was crystal clear. Just look at this. It was incredibly effective. It didn't just disrupt and delay Iran's planned attacks, it severely damaged some of their actual critical infrastructure. In fact, the fallout was so bad that Iran was reportedly forced to rebuild its cyber program almost from scratch. It was a massive blow. So seeing this decisive action in one conflict really shines a light on a much bigger truth. This is not just a US-Iran thing. Every country out there is writing its own rulebook for this new kind of war. And you know what? Their strategies are all shaped by their unique place in the world. And this table gives you a perfect little snapshot of that. The US, as a global power, has a global strategy. Makes sense. But look at Australia. Its focus is naturally on security right there in the Asia-Pacific region. Chile is more concerned with potential conflicts with its direct neighbors. And then you have an alliance like NATO, which has to think about the collected defense of all of its members at once. It just goes to show how a country's geography and its politics creates its own unique digital playbook. So, what does this all add up to? Well, there's actually an acronym the military uses to describe this kind of modern environment, and honestly, it just perfectly captures the state of cyber conflict. That acronym is VUCA. The V stands for volatile. The threat landscape changes at lightning speed. I mean, a new vulnerability, a new hacking group, a new tactic, it can pop up overnight. Defenses that were rock solid yesterday could be totally useless tomorrow. It forces everyone to constantly be on their toes just to keep up. U is for uncertain, and this goes right back to that attribution problem we talked about. When you can't be 100% sure who's attacking you, or even what their real goal is, it creates this deeply uncertain environment. I mean, how do you even begin to respond when your enemy is just a shadow? C stands for complex, because cyber isn't just its own little world anymore, not at all. It has to be integrated with every other part of national security: land, sea, air, even space. A cyber attack that takes down a country's power grid, for example, could be the very first move in a much larger physical conflict. Everything is dangerously tangled together. And finally, A is for ambiguous. The lines here are just completely blurred. Is a massive data breach an act of espionage, or is it an act of war? Is a state-sponsored hacking group a military unit, or is it a criminal gang? We're operating in this gray zone where the old rules of conflict just don't really apply anymore. Which brings us right back to where we started, and to this fundamental truth. We are living in an age of perpetual, low-grade digital conflict, a constant war that's being fought in the ones and zeros that hold up our entire modern world. And that really is the question we're all left with. In this volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, the very definition of what it means to be secure is being rewritten right before our eyes.